Hey, everybody, welcome into the Marvelous Marvel Discussion Arena, where we talk about all things Marvel here on the Arena Productions. I'm your host, Expat, along with my co-hosts, Burley Burleman Gaming and Fubu87. And in this episode, we're talking about Marvel's What If Season 2. So ponder the question, what if? So, yeah, guys, we just had like day after day of episodes of Season 2, so just finished up yesterday. So yeah, what did you guys think? And before we get into that, though, I just want to let all of you know that there are going to be spoilers throughout this final thoughts discussion of Marvel's What If Season 2. So if you've not watched all of the episodes yet, you might want to hit pause and go and watch the rest on Disney Plus, and then come back and enjoy this episode. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. So guys, what was your favorite episode? So my first question to you guys, which episode of season 2 resonated with you the most and why? For me, it had to be episode 6 with the introduction of Kahhori. And I'm going to go ahead and show that here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and throw the slideshow up for all of you video viewers. So for all of you audio listeners, you can check us out over on Podbean. The Arena Productions at podbean.com. You can check that out, and I will put the link to that here below. So this goes up in video and audio format. So if you're driving and want to listen in audio format, you can do that. And you can listen to us on all free podcast services. Just go to the Arena Productions. Yeah, check for that. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and all free podcast services. So, yes. So good stuff. So yeah, that was my favorite, was the Kahhori episode, because of the historical ramifications of it and all, and just the character herself. It reminded me a lot of Captain Marvel and how she became Captain Marvel. You know, the power of the Tesseract and all the Space Stone, obviously. But yeah, what was it for you guys? Fubu, I'll start with you. What was your favorite episode? And there's the Howard the Duck. That was in the first episode, yes. With Nebula. What if Nebula joined Nova Corps? But anyway, what was your favorite?
First of all, that's a very hard question, because I think this season was hit after hit after hit. It was such a good season. But I think something special about episode 6, man. I don't know, man. I remember because I watched the first 6 episodes in a row, and by the 5th episode, I was a bit burned out because too much. But as soon as that episode 6 started, and I'm not American, so I'm not as connected to the Native Americans as you guys probably are, because you're on that side. I'm more on the Spanish side because they're our neighbors, you know.
But that's why I'm interested in hearing your opinion on this, because of that, because of the conquistadors, and they're being in North America at that time. So
so I can give you so basically what happened was, with the Spanish being there, I don't know, shame on me being Portuguese, I should know this, but many centuries ago, Portugal and Spain were the main powerhouses in the world. We and the Spanish, Portuguese and the Spanish, we controlled the seas. And we did an accord, which this part of the world belongs to Portugal, and this part of the world belongs to Spain. To be honest, Portuguese thought they were being way too smart, because by that time, I think it was 1400 and something, by that time they already knew Brazil is what it is, because they had hints like birds and stuff. They knew Brazil was in that area. They had no idea what was behind Brazil, which is all of the Americas. So what happens is that part which is America, where the Spanish goes, that belonged to the Spanish people. And of course, the Spanish people went there. They brought their diseases, their weapons, and of course, Europe was much more technologically advanced than the Native Americans, so yes, they dominated. And right. I do love how they adapted the Fountain of Youth legend to the Tesseract, and again, I'm more connected to the Spanish people than the Native Americans, but we've been having this discussion for the last few months, I'm going to say, that people are feeling a little bit saturated with MCU content. You don't agree? We're not going to get into that, but this was absolutely fresh. Like they got something from the MCU, but they didn't need it Tony Stark. They didn't need a Captain America. They didn't need a Captain Carter. Whatever. They didn't need anything. They just got an item, which was the Tesseract, and they implemented in the Native American aspect. What I loved, one of the things I loved the most was they used the original language,
Yes. Mohawk. Yes. Mohawk
yeah, thank you.
language. Yes.
And they used the Spanish as well. They represented the people. I think that was beautiful.
I thought that was awesome.
Everything. I just love that. I could talk 20 minutes about this, but I'm going to let Burley talk because I know he has some great ideas about the.
Yeah, but before you go on, Burley, I just want to say I think this season in a whole just revitalized Marvel. I mean, it just capped off Marvel for 2023 and gave it a positive push into 2024, I think. And with Echo coming up too, I think that's going to bounce off of this, this season, especially with the introduction of Kahhori. And the Native Americans and the representation in Marvel. So go ahead, Burley. What was it for you? The episode that stood out for you the most?
The one that stood out for me the most was actually episode 9, the finale, because it's following up with some stuff that I really enjoyed in season 1 with the Doctor Strange, where in the first season I think it was like episode 4 or something around there. Mm-hmm. Where he tried everything to save that version of Christine and tried everything. And this one, he's been collecting all these powers. You think, oh, it's a noble thing, and he's holding them safe, protecting universes and all this and that. No. He's doing it because he wants to revive his universe that got destroyed by the timeline and Christine and all that. Mm-hmm. And so you've got all that, and you've got all the different characters from all the different universes being poured in at the end there and fighting and trying to stop them and stuff. So it was really good, and it goes back to stuff in season 1 that I really, really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Fubu, I want to throw it back to you now about the Kahhori episode. So how do you feel about the way the cultural and historical elements were incorporated into this episode? Yeah. Especially for you being from Portugal, I'm really interested in knowing how you felt about it and how the conquistadors were portrayed in this.
That's always very, very, very tricky to talk about it because it's how they were portrayed. I'm not going to say they were innocent or anything about that, but what happens when I'm talking about Spanish people, but I'm also talking about Portuguese because we did basically the same thing in Brazil and in Africa and probably in India. We did some very similar stuff. But when you are a powerhouse, what are you? You're a bully. And I do believe that the Spanish were correctly portrayed in this episode 6, because there are historical reports about how things worked back then. And for example, one of the things that destroyed the Mayan culture was the fact that the Spanish brought the flu to the Americas, and that's what killed them, because the Native Americans didn't have that problem. They didn't have that disease, and their bodies weren't prepared for that type of disease, so they died a lot. There was like a plague. They say that's what caused the Mayan to extinct. But yes, we were Portuguese and the Spanish. We were conquerors. We conquered a lot. We conquered the world. We were the biggest powerhouses and at the time I saw the year of the treaty. It was 1494. That's when we did the treaty with Spain, where we divided the world. And and it's because it was something unknown. They went with their full might because, again, 2 of the most powerful nations in the world, Spain, they went with their full might, and they tried to force their culture, and the Native Americans, they didn't accept. We had this type of conversation when we were talking about that Netflix anime about the blue-eyed samurai. They were closed because they they were afraid of the outside, but mostly because the people from the outside were trying to force their culture to Japanese culture, and they didn't want to accept. And it's normal if where I live, if someone comes and tries to force culture on me, I'm not going to enjoy that nowadays. And back then, I think it was correctly portrayed, because look, if it was a lie, what the Spanish people did, there would be different stories. But every time you see, you have Namor, you have the Spanish killing everyone. You have Pocahontas. It's actually the British destroying everything. But you have the I'm thinking about that Disney movie where El Dorado. I think that's the one. It's also about Spanish people. So
DreamWorks. That was a DreamWorks film.
DreamWorks. Thank you, Burley. It is correctly portrayed. The language itself, I didn't need to read the subtitles because I was hearing everything, accent, dialect, everything was correctly portrayed by when they made, like I was listening and I wasn't reading anything. It was, and historically, the type of armor they were using, type of ships, they called the caravelas, which is those big ones with the cannons. It was perfect. I'm telling you, this episode was something unique, something fresh. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I bet it was surprising to see Kahhori come into the palace at the end there and just lift up the queen and just saying, "You're nothing." You know, it's like, come on. Yeah, it's like, you know,
that's
like,
something big. That's big. You know, I'm not going to say the other word, but big to do that, something like that. Because walking into the queen like that in the heart of their country, it takes some very, very courage. I'm going to say the word courage, but of course this is something fictional. That back then would be almost impossible to do that, because again, Spanish had I'm going to say the name in Spanish and Portuguese, but they had the biggest armada in the world. They had the biggest fleet in the world, and it was hard.
Some of the other episodes that I really enjoyed, the Quill episode here, we're seeing seeing like the Avengers from like the late '80s and all. I thought that was really cool to see, you know, the Wasp as a child. You know, she's pretty much about the same age as Peter Quill, so I thought that was cool how they matched them up and put them together in a sense, and I thought that was cool. And then of course the episode with Iron Man with the races.
The Grandmaster, the fourth episode.
With the Grandmaster. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah. So, and then
Korg,
Korg and Stark together. I mean, that was really cool. So, yeah.
Did you guys notice that episode with Tony Stark and the Grandmaster? It was the only episode that had the post-credit scene.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But I think that one was to be in season 1, because it explained why Stark joined the multiverse Avengers or Guardians.
Yeah, I just the elements of it, and like how they explained at the beginning where, you know, Stark doesn't get through the hole, you know, at the end of the first Avengers film, and then that's what, you know, makes him go to that area, and you know, the Grandmaster, you know, and all. So I thought that was interesting. So let me ask you guys. So now, if you could choose one what if scenario to see in live action, what would it be? Particularly from this season. Burley, I'll start with you.
You know what? I'm gonna go with the one from episode 5, the Captain Carter one, with the Steve Rogers they return him, but he's been under the control of the Red Room.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool to see you in live action.
And to have Chris Evans come back as Captain America.
Yeah, if we could get him back as one last time, even though he'd be a villain for a good chunk of it, I think it would just be a neat kind of twist and be good.
Yeah, I got to go back to the Kahhori episode. Episode 6. I'd really want to see her in the MCU now, and I'm sure they're gonna implement her in some way. And with all this multiverse stuff going on, I'd love to see her team up with Captain Marvel, and having the similar type of powers and all. It would be really cool. So, but what's interesting is in the final episode, when she's working together with Captain Carter, she's still wearing the same traditional, Native American, dress as she was in the original, in the episode 6. So I'm wondering if that's done on purpose. They're not making her use a particular superhero outfit. I thought that was interesting, and what they're going to do with that in the future. But I think I'd love to see her, come in. And Captain Carter, I mean, she just dominated the season. Of all of the characters, she was in it the most. So I think at some point, Captain Carter and Haley Atwell is going to be coming back as Agent Carter, as Captain Carter in the MCU in some way. Obviously, she was in Multiverse of Madness, but
that was a great
as we know,
reveal having her in there.
and but we know what happens to her in that particular universe. But I think excuse me, my voice is going again, guys, because it's early morning out here in Japan still, and so my throat is dry. So
I'll talk now so you can recover from
go ahead, man.
Let's do that.
Go ahead.
Because I'm at the end of the day, my throat is going well. The one that I would adapt live action, it would be episode 1. I really liked episode 1 because, first of all, Karen Gilligan, I love that woman. She's perfect. Since Doctor Who times, I really love her. She's amazing. And I like the fact, like, they did a very good transition. But if you remember the start of the episode, it's like a noir police drama, with the lights. She's driving, she has the lights. I was enjoying that. And then as the episode progressed, it turned into a 90s action movie with one-liners like, "It's called Style, you should get some." I really that was good. And I think, I personally think that Karen Gilligan as Nebula could carry, I'm going to say a movie and even a series, but let's go with movie. She could carry a movie, her being, because she has the star power for it, and make it like a police drama. Because I don't think like we had a spy drama with Winter Soldier, for example, but we haven't had like a police drama, like a more police drama. I think they could pull something off with her, and with a nice cast. Of course, you'll need a very good cast around her, and try to make it self-contained. You don't need to have other characters from the MCU around her. Maybe like one or another minor character, but not the big ones. Like they had Jude Law. You don't need to have Jude Law in the live action, for example.
Just have, I was like surprised. Korg appear just quickly, and then I could see that, and I'd like to see that. Like she does a great job, and like Guardians 3 pushed her up there, and with that film, and just how she did in this, it's like I would see a small self-contained movie episode, just even if it's a movie streaming only on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I would definitely want to see if they would give her that and give her a nice hour-and-a-half crime drama film.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
It's good stuff. And season 3, we did get a small snippet of season 3. It was a scene, like a car chase scene, and you had the Winter Soldier, Bucky in the car with his Russian counterpart, I guess.
I think it was the Red Guardian. I saw the
Red Guardian, yeah. So, but we don't know exactly when that's coming. It'll be in 2024, I assume, at some point. But season 3 is in the works, and really excited for that. So, I love what they're doing with this with Marvel. I mean, this is one of the gems of Marvel, and I hope they do it with other series too, and with other franchises, like I talked about in one of my videos for Star Wars. I'd love to see a Star Wars What If as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would be really cool. So maybe they'll do that in the future. But so this is Marvel, man. Marvel What If, and of course 2024's Marvel is looking pretty interesting. Of course, in January we get Echo. So before we head out, guys, what are your what are your when it comes to what you think is going to happen in Echo? What are your expectations? I wanted to say of the Echo series. It's gonna be really violent, and it's gonna be really bloody. It's gonna be like the Daredevil Netflix series, and it's only, I think, 5 episodes long. But what are your expectations for Echo?
Well, the good thing about not knowing the character as well, for example, that we know Daredevil, is you don't have too high of an expectation. Everything that comes is going to be a surprise. That's why on She-Hulk, Daredevil got a lot of backlash, because people were expecting the Netflix Daredevil, and it was the more funny and
comedic style.
Yeah, comedic style. And one of my best friends, she loves Matt Murdock, she loves Charlie Cox, and she was highly disappointed with the fact what they did with that character. So with Echo, when you don't have any expectations, so it starts at the bottom, and it can only go up, because if it goes down, it's really bad.
Yeah. Burley, what are your expectations for Echo?
My expectations, like I don't have a high, like for we said, I don't really have too high for this, but I expect some good action. I really want some big good action, since they're saying they're going like Daredevil style, and I'm really curious to see, because they leave you on the cliffhanger with Hawkeye with what did they do with Kingpin. So we're going to get any kind of resolution there.
Yeah.
And what they're going to set at the end for this setting up. Are they setting up more stuff with just a tease for more stuff for Matt Murdock? Or what other characters? Are we going to get a tease at the end of this for Young Avengers and bring back Kate Bishop back? So I'm curious to see that kind of stuff.
What I'm curious about is the character of Echo. Is she really that bad, or is she turning to more of a good character in this mini series? I'll say. I think, Burley, we're gonna get like some kind of like flash into the ending of Hawkeye and see what truly happened there in that street corner. We'll probably find out what happened there, of course. But boy, I mean, I'm really interested in this character. I really am, and just kind of the street level type of Marvel is really what I really enjoy, and I'm really looking forward to Kingpin, and of course, the actor who plays him, Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean,
he nailed it as Kingpin.
I can't wait to see more of Kingpin, and obviously Charlie Cox is making a cameo in this series, as well as Daredevil. So that's going to be awesome, and I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited to do the review episodes with you guys of Echo. So it comes out in a couple of weeks. So, or actually on January 9th, I think it starts streaming. So I'm really excited for it. So, all right. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Marvelous Marvel Discussion Arena. So this has been our final thoughts discussion of Marvel's What If Season 2. So we hope you all enjoyed the season. We're looking forward to when they come out with Season 3 at some point, hopefully in 2024. And as we just mentioned, we'll be doing review episodes of Echo when that comes out in January. So want to wish all of you a happy new year. And all the content we do here on the Arena Productions, we're looking forward to bringing you a lot more in 2024. So anyway, take care and enjoy all of your Marvel content. So take care, everyone. Peace.